everybody. After seeing Planet of the Apes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, uh, yesterday during the movies, which it was a good movie. Uh, nice little ending. We also saw Fall Guy. Fall Guy was pretty good too. It was had everything in Fall Guy. It had comedy, romance, drama, action, and it had a cool little post credit scene. So if you go see Fall Guy, you need to go make sure you go see. You stay tuned and watch all the post credit, end credit scenes. Um. Anyway, so me and Mom went to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I was confused about like almost everything because first of all, I haven't seen any of these three movies when I went to see it, so I was like, um, how'd it get to be this way? So we went to several different places looking for the trilogy, and I found it at Walmart. And yeah, so I then proceeded to watch all three and stay up literally all night watching all three of these, so I'd have the complete story. From what I understand, I don't know what some people are trying to say is that these movies are prequels that connect to the original five, six, yeah, six movies actually. And also, these movies have no connection to the remake Planet of the Apes Tim Burton did with Mark Wahlberg in it. Okay, so these don't make sense as being prequels because, in my opinion, because the timeline for how Caesar came into being is different in this one, in this series, than it is in the original six movies. So, yeah. How Caesar rises is different. How the dawn of the apes, while it's similar to the original Planet of the Apes in Battle for the Planet of the Apes and the one before that one, it's also different because, yeah. Anyway, War for the Planet of the Apes, or just seemed like the weaker of the three. There's supposed to be a war going on, but it has the least action out of the two. There's more battle, fighting, and rise. There's apes rising up against humanity and finding their own place, but not actually going to war. But there is more action. And then in Dawn, there is a pretty good war caused by the bad ape, who and a bad human really, who basically caused a war between the apes. And then in War, there's like a war scene kind of at the beginning, but then the rest of it's kind of, it's just odd, and it's just seems like the fall of man from the virus going on in war more than in anything. Anyway, it's a good series, and from my perspective, I'm going to say that it's three separate timelines going on. In the original Planet of the Apes, which has the 6 movies, and the TV show, which I'm not 100% certain that the television show is canon to the movie franchise, even though the TV show is set during before, I think, the movie. Maybe. So, yes, there is a Planet of the Apes TV show based off of, I think, based off of the, I believe it's based off the Planet of the Apes movie, but it's before the Planet of the Apes movie. And on top of that, to have even more craziness, there are Planet of the Apes comics, which some are canonized and connected to the movies, and others are their own separate timelines, I believe. And on top of that, there's also Planet of the Apes video games, which again are some are canon to the movies, while others are set in their own timeline. And on top of that, there are a couple of Planet of the Apes board games, which again are not canon, but based off of the movies. Like there's the vintage one based off the vintage one based off of the vintage original movies. Then of course there's the IDW one they made, which is based off of the original movies. Then there's a Planet of the Apes board game based off of the Tim Burton movie. And then, of course, there's a Planet of the Apes tactical miniatures game that didn't really go very far. It kind of disappeared. That was on Kickstarter that looked like it was going to be pretty cool. Looked like it had a version that was going to be based off the original movies, but also a version based off of this particular trilogy and new movies, but it failed. You can still find some information about it in a couple of videos about it on YouTube, but other than that, failed. And there may or may not be some other Planet of the Apes games and whatnot. Again, these games are loosely based off of the movies, but not necessarily canon because, well, you can change history. Well, canonized history, basically, in board games, meaning stuff can happen differently than happened in the actual movies. So no board game is actual canon, but it's loosely based off of a movie or TV show or franchise. Yeah. Anyway, back to this. So I believe there's 3 separate timelines, and that if anybody's trying to connect the timelines, they're going to get it wrong. Because while time travel is a very influential part of the original series, don't know if time travel is going to be influential in the trilogy of trilogies that they have planned for this show. I don't believe time travel is going to be a big deal in these. I think space, yes, will be a big deal. So That's my take on it. My theory is that mankind has to escape the plague. Mankind somehow went to outer space and colonized Mars. And they didn't get lost, they just colonized. They got lost transmissionally speaking. And I think that the Planet of the Apes series is going to go beyond the Planet of the Apes. And it's going to go cosmological. Eventually, it's going to be Galaxy of the Apes, or maybe even just solar system of the Planet of the Apes. And it's going to go more on a galactic cosmic scale eventually. I don't really think time travel is how they're going to go about in this particular thing, because I don't think time travel really works exactly. But that's just my thought. So I think there's three separate timelines. First of all, you have the first timeline from the original Planet of the Apes, which goes from the future to the past, and it starts in the past where, of course, Charlton Heston, the astronaut, goes into space, gets lost in space somehow, and gets sucked through a time vortex because they um, travel through space at the speed of light for some reason. And when they crash land on Earth, it's back Earth, but it's Earth in the future based off of an ape. And it's a causality loop because he gets to the future, it's apes, the planet gets blown up in the second movie, and then, which is beneath the Planet of the Apes, I believe. And then it's Escape from the Planet of the Apes, where the two smart apes use the same spaceship to escape the apes, and they use the same technology, but it causes a time travel in reverse where they go back to our Earth, and then, of course, they have a baby. As just a recap of the first six movies, the original Planet of the Apes movies, they have a baby. His name's Caesar. That same Caesar is smarter than an average ape, and that Caesar causes a revolt and a revolution, and the apes rise up, and they do that in battle, and I believe one before that, the Planet of the Apes, because a virus, same theme of a virus is in both of them, but in this case, the virus kills out like pets, and they start using apes as pets, but then they decide to use apes as slaves, and of course the apes rise up. Um, and that's basically how that ends up. And that's how the ape Planet of the Apes gets created again. Now there are scenes where man and ape are together, but eventually somehow ape outshines and overrides man in the distant future, because from the very first movie you see that man is primitive again while apes are super advanced technological. Now, that's timeline one. And timeline two is, of course, the Tim Burton movie, which is interesting because starts off in not so distant future, our future. We send a we send astronauts to travel in outer space, and they somehow manage to go to another planet. So this planet, the planet of the apes, is our same planet, but it's not our planet. It's not Earth. It's a planet where humans and apes evolved differently. Humans never got away from their primitive stage on that planet, while apes were the ones that evolved to the technological advancement that exists, right? In that movie, we see they're in basically more of a Roman age time frame, whatever. Uh, Maybe medieval-ish time frame, and yeah. Anyways, so they're medieval-ish Roman age time, and he's basically gone to that time frame of history of that planet, a planet of the apes. It's not Earth. When he finally escapes the planet and travels through space, he travels so fast through the speed of light that he thinks he's going and escaping the, I guess, um, gravitational pull of the planet, when in reality he doesn't escape the gravitational pull of the planet. And at the very end, he lands on, again, the planet of the apes. And the same planet, but he lands basically on Washington, D.C., and it's controlled by apes. Everybody's an ape. There's Ape Lincoln. And it looks like history basically went exactly the same on that planet as it did on our planet, with the exception of it was apes, not humans, that did the evolutionary thing. So there's that time period, which is actually technically set on a different planet. So it is possible. It is possible they could implement that version of the apes into the cosmetic version of apes that exist in this version of Planet of the Apes, because they're set on another planet. But it's also set in a future where the Planet of the Apes doesn't happen. Or maybe the space travelers from this Planet of the Apes that go are the same space travelers that Mark Wahlberg was in the Planet of the Apes remake. That is a potential possibility. Now then, so then there's this third timeline, which is the reboot, remake, franchise timeline. This is the trilogy movies to the reboot, remake franchise timeline. The newest one was the first movie of the second trilogy, and their plans are to have 9 movies, so a trilogy of trilogies, just like Star Wars did. Um, which Star Wars did didn't do prequels first; they did regular first, but still, and then they did sequels, and the sequels kind of sucked. Um, Prequels were cool, okay, but and they did the middle, the beginning, then the end, and the end kind of sucked, and they haven't ended yet because it's so popular that and Disney owns them that they want to continue with the cash grabs of it. But anyway, back to Planet Apes. Yeah, Planet Apes is the third franchise. This one, well, a virus created makes smart apes. Caesar's was born of one of these smart apes. Uh, it also makes people dumb. So that's kind of how it works. But it doesn't affect all people. And we find out in Dawn they don't get along as good. And one of the bad apes starts a war with humans. And then in War, it's like the end of mankind, but it's not all mankind because we found out in Kingdom that, again, there's humans left and they're hiding in government bunkers and whatnot and may, at the end, oh shoot, I'm giving spoilers, but go watch maybe if you haven't seen it. But anyway, you may have or may not have already seen it. Uh, anyway, it's set like 300 or several generations later after war. So Caesar's dead. Um, and there's this new ape, Noah, and then there's Proximus Caesar, and it's Proximus trying to get a hold of this human vault and with some stuff, and they both have different versions of how Caesar. Proxima is like the warrior Caesar, and Noah is believing in like the peaceful Caesar that coexisted with humans. Yeah. So there's that. Proxima is trying to get in the vault. He doesn't get in the vault. Caesar tries to help the human girl who gets something from the vault and gives to the humans that are hiding in like secret government bunkers or whatever. And then they contact people, and some people are saying it was Fort Wayne they contacted, but I'm thinking Fort Wayne is more than Fort Wayne. I'm thinking it's Fort Wayne is like the name of the secret military base on the moon or something, or maybe when they colonized the moon, or it's a Mars colonization and they named a Mars colony Fort Wayne for reasons. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think it's actual Fort Wayne, as in Fort Wayne, Texas, I believe, which is a reference nod to Charlton Heston's character, the astronaut who was from Fort Wayne. But I don't think it's the same Fort Wayne. Could be wrong, but I'm thinking we're going to go into cosmic scale, like I said earlier, and that the whole entire ideas of it may be a space station too. That's a possibility because I'm thinking that when they looked into the telescope, they saw moon colonized or Mars colonized, or they saw a space station. I don't think they just saw the cosmos. They saw maybe some kind of spaceship. Some people are saying they saw the astronaut spaceship from that's the lost astronauts that are going and it's going to go a time travel and loop thing, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. because that's already been done. We need to do something different. We don't need to do what's already been done. We've had so many time causality loop movies and franchises that it's overly been done. So it doesn't need to be done that way. But they did say that it was more to it regarding space. So I'm thinking not intergalactic, or I'm thinking just galactic or whatever, maybe. So yeah, that's just my thoughts, theories. So anyway, I think the people from Earth contacted the people from space station, moon, colony, Mars, something like that. And that we're going to be seeing space stuff later in the show, franchise, movies. Anyway, besides, what better for Planet of the Apes to merge into Galaxy of the Apes? That would be just freaking cool, right? Anyway, I mean, we've seen the apes from we've seen the apes throughout history taking over everything. We've seen the timeline of the apes from the causality loop. We've seen the virus things. We've seen wars with humans and apes. We've seen a world where apes took over the evolutionary chain instead of man, and basically the history was the same. What we haven't seen is the future of the apes. We've seen the apes' pasts. We've seen how they rose. We've seen a causality loop. We've seen everything but like science fiction goes where science fiction goes. We haven't seen apes and spaceships and stuff yet. We haven't seen like futuristic humans that have colonized, I don't know, say Mars or whatever, or the moon or whatever, try to take back the planet of the apes in a galactic war, which would be freaking awesome. So, yeah. Also, why haven't they made a Planet of the Apes Risk? Just throwing that out there. I mean, you made a Planet of the Apes Monopoly. You could make a Planet of the Apes Risk based off of this new sequels of movies. New reboot, prequels, whatever. Franchise. You could also make one based off the original trilogy. I mean, it is a very popular trilogy. I mean, Saga. It's not even just a trilogy. It's a saga. Anyway, remember, God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. Keep on gaming, like, comment, subscribe, share. Jesus Lord, Jesus God, Jesus Lord, Jesus King, Jesus is ruler, everything. And here I've talked almost 30 minutes about Planet of the Apes. Go see it. Go watch them all. If you haven't seen these, go get them. The Mark Wahlberg one's good. The old school Charlton Heston one and other ones are good. But I'm still thinking they're three separate universes, and anyone who's trying to combine them is messing up. And we shouldn't need to be thinking about time travel. We should be thinking about space travel, intergalactic, galactic travel. Galaxy of the planet, a galaxy of the apes, kind of deal. Or at least solar system of the apes, but solar system doesn't sound as cool as galaxy. Even though it technically would just be Mars or Earth, Mars, humans on Mars, and apes on Earth fighting with futuristic spaceship tech, lasers, and all that cool jazz. What y'all think about that? And if y'all have watched like literally the whole 30 minutes of me ranting about the apes, uh, y'all are amazing and cool. And you're the best. Oh, and this picture is Caesar. It's just Caesar. You know, it's Caesar from the three different movies, all merged together to have one image of Caesar, which is a pretty cool image. Caesar is not based off of Caesar of the Roman Empire, but Caesar from the first Caesar, which is actually technically based off of Caesar, the Roman, which Caesar is not necessarily, it's a title, it's not necessarily a person, it's basically the Emperor of Rome is the Caesar. Fun fact.